I'm Peter, and this is the RoguePlanetoid Podcast, where you'll find insights about Microsoft or related platforms and technology, along with so much more. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced professional or just interested in technology, keep current, keep coding. Welcome to episode 35 of the RoguePlanetoid Podcast with an overview of 2025. During 2025, there were more events either attending or presenting than ever before, and renewed as a Microsoft MVP for the first time. It is fantastic to look back at 2025, as well as look ahead to what is in store for 2026, which starts with a new look for this podcast and my website, which you can visit at RoguePlanetoid.com or check out the link in the show notes. January kicked off 2025, and although there were some unexpected issues, it was great to look ahead with an aim to do more than I'd ever done before in 2024, which would be a challenge given that was my best year so far, but a worthwhile challenge I was going to take on in 2025. February featured an overview of 2024 on the RoguePlanetoid Podcast, then a first with 2 online talks in the space of 2 weeks from Microsoft Reactor, on designing Windows widgets using generative AI, and the other, developing Windows widgets with generative AI. There was also the launch of my video podcast, Talking Inspiration, where I interviewed Paul Lancaster, a major part of the startup scene here in the northeast of England, which you can watch via youtube.com/@Niltoni Broadcast Network or check out the link in the show notes. March saw a RoguePlanetoid episode on generative AI and .NET, and a chance to go to the Dibi conference for the first time in years, with a fantastic workshop and conference held in Edinburgh, along with attending a couple of new events in Newcastle upon Tyne. Plus there was another Talking Inspiration episode, this time with Charlotte Windybank, who is a fantastic supporter of startups here in the northeast of England, and Jamie Hardesty, who highlights better than I ever could the fantastic tech scene here. April covered Microsoft at 50 on the RoguePlanetoid Podcast, which was great to help celebrate, as Microsoft had a major impact on my professional and personal life. It was also great to attend a Women in Tech Northeast event to celebrate allyship and inclusivity in the tech community, along with presenting and going to Liverpool for the very first time, where I did a talk on design and develop Windows widgets via generative AI. Plus I interviewed Herb Kim, who organises the amazing Thinking Digital conference and many TEDx events here in the northeast of England for Talking Inspiration. May's episode of the RoguePlanetoid Podcast covered GitHub Copilot, and was a chance to catch Microsoft Build 2025 online, including the keynotes and sessions with plenty to learn about AI, .NET, and more. It's always great to watch Microsoft Build and look forward to being able to go in person again, but it is still worthwhile watching sessions live or catching up with them later. June covered Microsoft Build 2025 on the RoguePlanetoid Podcast and was a bumper month for events, starting with UK Startup and Scale Up Week 2025, organised by Paul Lancaster, where we hosted a podcasting workshop before heading down to London, where we were supporting the True Crime Awards, which was an amazing experience, plus CrimeCon with Scottish Murders. June also saw Tech Next, which I've been more involved with each year, and last year was the biggest contribution yet, when I hosted a Build a Podcast AI with Blazor using GitHub Models workshop, as well as getting along to most of the hub events and main stage hosted by Jamie Hardesty. June ended with Tyne Design Week, which was a fantastic new event to be part of, as well as catching another great .NET meetup, which included fellow Northeast-based Microsoft MVP Mike Stevenson, and another episode of Talking Inspiration with Jenny Smith, who is a networking expert to help make the most of the events here in the northeast of England. You can check out the workshop for Tech Next, Blazor Podcast AI, at tutorialer.com/workshops, or check out the link in the show notes. July featured the Northeast Tech Scene 2025 on the RoguePlanetoid Podcast, as well as new events to attend, including True Crime Forum Newcastle and podcasting events from Ashley King. We had also hosted our own podcast events throughout the year, so it was great to be able to support other events too. I was renewed as a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional for the second time for .NET and Windows development, which I'm still so very proud and honoured to be, and updated my Commences toolkits and some of the Commences assets for .NET developers with some fantastic updates, which you can check out at commences.com/packages or check out the link in the show notes. August marked my award of Microsoft Most Valuable Professional with an overview of my personal and professional experience and expertise, which helped me on my journey to be awarded on the RoguePlanetoid Podcast. It was also great to attend another .NET meetup with Samson, who had met at .NET Liverpool, and fellow longtime .NET developer Peter Shaw, I also updated the rest of my Commensus assets, which included ones for games with some open source assets and some I created myself with my limited design expertise, which looked quite good, although it was just dominoes, dice, and game boards. September on the RoguePlanetoid podcast featured an episode about NuGet, which helped mark my first new NuGet package, another Commensus toolkit with commensus.toolkit.blazor, which I developed porting some of my Windows App SDK toolkit to Blazor with the aid of GitHub Copilot. I also attended and hosted a panel discussion at Tech Connect 2025, which was my first onstage appearance at a paid conference, which was fantastic. I also wrote articles about building my assets and toolkits packages, joining other articles, which you can check out at rogueplanetoid.com/articles or check out the link in the show notes. October featured the panel discussion from Tech Connect 2025 on the RoguePlanetoid podcast recorded live, which was the first episode ever done this way, and covered all the other sessions in an article on Tech Connect 2025. I also covered the end of Windows 10, which officially went out of support in October, and looked back on Windows Phone on its 15th anniversary. November's episode of the RoguePlanetoid podcast was on Visual Studio 2026, which I'd been using for a few months, which is a fantastic iteration of Visual Studio, which I've been using since the very first version, Visual Studio 97, back in 1997. I travelled down to Manchester to present my talk, Take a Note of UI with .NET 10, when I was invited by Mike Irving, and fellow Microsoft MVP, which is a fantastic and great chance to check out the city, which is always impressive. It was also great to mark the 20th anniversary of Xbox 360, although it actually launched the following month here in the UK. It was also great to host an online event, .NET Conf 2025 Newcastle upon Tyne, which featured lightning talks for those here in the northeast of England and further afield. December began on the RoguePlanetoid podcast with an episode on .NET 10, alongside an article about .NET 10 and one covering the talks for my .NET Conf 2025 Newcastle upon Tyne event. There was also a chance to attend the launch event for TechNext 2026, which I look forward to being part of in 2026. December was when I announced Commensus Learning with Learning Programming with C# and .NET, which will be a live-streamed online course coming in 2026. You can find out more and sign up for information where you'll get a What is Programming with C# and .NET guide for free at commensus.com/learning or check out the link in the show notes. 2025 was, I'm pleased to say, even more event-packed than 2024, where I beat my challenge to surpass what I had done that year. 2025 marked me being renewed as a Microsoft MVP, which is thanks to having given back to the community that has supported me throughout my personal and professional journey. It was also an opportunity to be more involved, including running workshops as part of UK Startup and Scale Up Week 2025 or TechNext 2025. Doing more presentations online as well as in person in Liverpool and Manchester, along with conferences where I was on stage like Tech Connect 2025 or just attended to learn from those speaking, such as Dibby in Edinburgh. 2025 was great to see my toolkits and asset packages be updated with new features or content for .NET developers to consume in their own projects, or create a new toolkit for Blazor using the power of AI, something that has been a theme in many events I've been to or been part of. It has also been great to celebrate anniversaries such as Microsoft at 50, Xbox 360 at 20, and Windows Phone at 15, which included finding out when I was in Manchester that those there were involved in a pivotal event I attended before the launch of Windows Phone that allowed me to test my apps and was very appreciative of that event. 2025 has been a fantastic year and was pleased to indeed do more than in 2024. Which kicks off with a refresh of my website, another chance to deliver Take a Note of UI with .NET 10 for the .NET Meetup here in the northeast of England, and we'll see the release of my new course, Learning Programming with C# and .NET, but these are hopefully just a few of the things I will be doing, which will include being a guest on a podcast and hosting a brand new one. So I hope everyone and myself have an amazing 2026. Thanks for listening to the RoguePlanetoid podcast, where each episode you'll find insights about Microsoft or related platforms and technology, along with so much more, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or at rogueplanetoid.com/podcasts. For the RoguePlanetoid podcast, whether you are a beginner or an experienced professional or just interested in technology, keep current, keep coding. RoguePlanetoid Podcast is a production of Clarenton.